Good morning, everyone. And in this webinar, I am talking about sales skills. And I think everyone here understands the importance of sales skills in terms of client acquisition, of course, and maintaining the future viability of any business. We all get that, it's critical. But I'm also addressing, I suppose, some of the feelings that go along with sales. Some of you tell us that sales skills, sales tasks are not things you particularly enjoy or know a lot about. Some of you tell us actually even you might find those things uncomfortable. And so we're going to look at that as well today and how you can address that because some of those feelings may actually be holding back your own sales performance. So we're going to look at some practical things, as ever, practical things that I want you to note and take away from today and do. But we're also going to look at maybe what stops people doing a lot of the things that they understand they need to do with sales, but do not. Now, so let's. I just want to give you some context here. In one of my previous webinars, actually, I introduced our business growth system. That was back in January of 2026. And by the way, all our webinars recordings are saved on our YouTube channel. So if you like and subscribe to that channel, then you can access all the recordings. They're all there now from every month. And back in January, I explained our business growth system. And these are the areas that we look at when we're growing the revenue and the profits of any business. And the distinction I first want to make here is you all here because you want help to grow your business, your businesses. And the challenge you have is twofold. Number one, marketing. Like, how do you actually generate more leads for your businesses? So that is a lead generation challenge. Now, that is not what I'm talking about today. So back in March, I did a whole session just on lead generation. And in fact, back in 2025, I also did another whole session just on the most common mistakes that we're seeing with marketing. So marketing is a whole separate topic. When we're looking at business growth and client acquisition, we need to look at the two separately. We need to look at marketing and lead generation skills. And then today, we are looking more at your ability to convert those inquiries, to convert those leads into new customers, new clients. So we're looking specifically at your sales skills, your ability to convert those leads. So I just want to draw that distinction because they are two very different skill sets. Now, both of those skill sets may fall on your shoulders, perhaps, depending on the type of business and the setup you've got. If you've got marketing people or other people involved in marketing, then maybe it falls on their shoulders. But sales is a very different skill set. And that's certainly what we're looking at more today. So let me ask you this first of all. I think this is a very important question to ask any of you. And you don't have to share your answer, but I think it's a very important question to reflect on. Is that how many of you would actually not do any sales tasks if you had that option? And the reason I'm asking that is because a lot of people are honest with us and say that's maybe not their first choice or any choice that would get a priority. And that's okay, except if it falls on your shoulders, we need to address that mindset. Because the mindset here is just as important as the skills. And so what I'm going to talk about first is your mindset and attitude towards sales. So let's talk about the iceberg. Now, what on earth is that? So most of you are here today because you want to know what to do. Parag, tell us what to do to improve our sales. Tell us what to do. And you want to know what actions you can take so that you can make better decisions and get better results with sales. Now, that is not the whole story. If only it were that simple. Because actually, what we also need to look at is what's going on beneath the water, as it were, using that iceberg analogy. What's going on inside? What's going inside of you and your heads? Because your ability to get better results will be primarily driven by your skills in sales, but also your beliefs. And the beliefs is a big thing that we're going to talk about, and your values and your identity. And if those are not aligned with those sales activities and what you need to do, then you're not going to get better results. And that doesn't just apply to sales, that applies to any part of your life that you want to improve. And people know what they need to do, whether it's about how to eat more healthily or be healthier and fitter or earn more money. All that knowledge is actually abundant. They know what to do. There's just something inside that's stopping them doing it or doing it consistently. And for us, we certainly see beliefs are a big potential saboteur for many, many people. So, what do I mean? Well, let's talk about what I call the uncomfortable truth. And in fact, there's probably a few uncomfortable truths that I'm going to reveal. So, let's talk about what's going on out there at the moment in the economy, in the marketplace. And businesses tend to be cyclical. In other words, and businesses and industries and sectors tend to be cyclical. So, in other words, I think most of you would agree that at the moment, for most sectors, it's a bit of an economic winter. Opportunities are fewer. There's fewer projects or opportunities in many sectors, not all, but in many. What I call an economic winter. We had an economic winter back in COVID. When I started my first business back in 2007, then we had the credit crunch very soon afterwards. That was certainly an economic winter. So businesses tend to have this seasonality. And if we accept that it's pretty tough at the moment, what we're seeing a lot of businesses telling us they're doing in response to that is something like this. They say, well, Parag, it's tough out there. The pipeline's drying up. The cash flow is drying up. So what we're going to do is what I call hibernate. Batten down the hatches and hibernate. We're going to lay off a few staff, Parag. And even the people at the top might decide, well, the money's tight. A lot of owners do this and leaders, they take a pay cut. They may even borrow money to get them through that tough period. And we see many businesses doing that. That's their response. And you know what? That gets some of them through it. Doesn't get them all through it, but it does actually get some of them through it. The problem with that approach, for me, is your business doesn't grow. It's constantly, every time there's a tough economic cycle, the business regresses. So it goes down and up, it goes down and up, and it goes down and up, year and year after year after year. So it's not really a recipe for consistent growth. Because every time there's a tough economic condition, the belief system is we need to hibernate. And so for those of you who want maybe a better solution to that or are open to an alternative solution, then I'm glad you're here, because that is one strategy. It may not necessarily be the best strategy for you and your business. Because here's a moment in time. For those of you, I get some younger people now who don't even know who this guy is. It's Roger Bannister. And this moment in time was when he was the first human being in history to break the 4-minute mile. And what this moment taught us, it taught us something very important. That until this moment in history, in human history, nobody believed that a human being was capable of running a 4-minute mile. And then Roger Bannister came along and he believed something different. And the interesting thing is, as soon as he proved it was possible, people's beliefs changed about the ability to run a 4 minute mile. And suddenly, other athletes started breaking the 4 minute mile really quickly. And the only thing that could have changed was their beliefs. And so, if you're looking at how you can get better results, I want to confront some of the beliefs you have around how to achieve that. So go with me on this. That's why you're here. What is a belief? First of all, what is a belief? Because some beliefs can help you with your progress and your results. Some beliefs are absolutely sabotaging you. So what is a belief? A belief is something that you hold to be true. It may be true, it may not be true, but it's something that you hold to be true. I'll give an example. Actually, I was talking to my daughter last night. She's 14, and we were talking about music. We both love music, and I love what she calls old people's music. So basically, classic rock, the Stones, Queen, which I'm really pleased that I've got her into. But her belief was that the best singer artist in the world was Taylor Swift. That was the thing that she was sticking to, and she was educating me about that. And that was a belief that she held to be true. Last night, she was like, oh, yeah, Taylor Swift, she's all right. So suddenly she's changed what seemed to be an absolutely entrenched belief about Taylor Swift. She changed it. So whether she's right or not, whether Taylor Swift is the best singer on the planet or not, that's her belief. And she's chosen to change it. So we all have that power. We all have the ability to change our beliefs about whatever it is we choose to confront and change. So let me give you some examples, and I want you to actually think about this and act on it. So your beliefs around your expertise and reputation. A lot of businesses tell us, Parag, we should be okay because we're really, really good at what we do. Our clients know it. We have that reputation in the marketplace, so we are fine. We don't need to do all this other stuff. We don't need to go and do the lead generation stuff you've been talking about or improve our sales skills because our work speaks for itself. Now, my answer to that is go and look at your numbers. If you are maintaining and getting the leads that you need for your business, you're getting the work, the clients, the projects that you need for your business. If you're hitting those numbers that you need to be hitting, great. Fantastic. Well done. And there are a few businesses who can trade on their reputation and do that. In our experience, that is not the norm. That is not the norm. That is, for me, that's a very risky belief. I think it's also a very lazy belief. That you honestly think with all the change going on in the world that you can just rest on your laurels and assume that because you're good, that's enough. I mean, I'm afraid there's a lot of businesses that are good, which is great. It's not enough. It's not enough. Unless you're absolutely flying with your numbers, in which case, great. But for most, it's not enough. Now, okay, this is a big one. How many of you have a belief, and you need to be honest with yourselves, how many have a belief that you need to discount in order to win new work? You need to do it. There's competition out there, Parag. It's a competitive landscape. Other businesses are undercutting us. So therefore, we need to discount. Is that your belief system? Because I've heard that one too many times than I can mention. It's a very common belief, especially in certain industries, that you need to do that. Now, it may actually be bringing you in more projects when you choose to do that. So the revenue is maintained or grows, but what's it doing to your profit margins? And if you keep clinging on to that belief, what's going to happen to your margins? Of course, there's only one outcome. Your margins eroded, goodbye business. So that is a belief system that I know, I absolutely know that many of you have, because so many of you have told us this. I know that's a belief that many of you are clinging on to. There will always be someone cheaper. There will always be someone cheaper. But if you keep discounting, you're on a fast and very slippery slope to business failure. So that is a belief I want to challenge today as well. And the other belief is around sales. And as I said, many of you maybe don't see yourselves as salespeople. You don't like it. You don't cherish it. You don't leap out of bed in the morning. So I'd like you to write down. I'd actually like you to write down when I say that your job is sales, and when I say that your job is salesperson, as well as the other hats you're wearing, but part of your job is to do sales and to be a salesperson. When I say that to you, what springs to your mind? I'd actually like that. I'd like you to write down what springs to your mind. And I want you to write that down. Like now, what are those initial thoughts that come into your mind? Because I want you to look at what those thoughts are and actually audit those. Because if those thoughts are overwhelmingly negative, sabotaging, what do you think that's going to lead to in terms of the actions that you need to take? If you don't like it, you don't enjoy it, you find it uncomfortable, do you think you're going to do it when you have a spare moment? Of course not. Just like anything else in life that you don't like or feel comfortable with. So the belief around sales and the negative beliefs will have a very, very strong correlation with your results. And as I said, using my wonderful 14-year-old daughter as an example, you can change a belief. You have the power to change a belief. It's just something that you hold to be true. It's not necessarily true. You can change it. So let's do that now. Or at least let's give it a try. Do you need to reframe, to just challenge that belief and reframe it to a new belief about sales? Because that will then better support the actions that you need to take. And I'm especially talking to those of you who have got those negative beliefs. Let me give you some examples. These are just some examples. I'd like you to come up with your own wording or whatever helps you. But here's an example. That you're not a salesperson, you're positively influencing them in their best interests. In their best interests. And you're not selling, you're influencing. And you're acting in their best interest. That's a very positive thing. And I know that's exactly how most of you approach this. You are actually trying to act in their best interests. Maybe that's a new belief around sales. Professionally helping people to buy. No one wants to be sold to. You're not selling, you are professionally helping them to buy. People don't want to be sold to, they love buying. Especially from people who are acting in their best interests. Maybe that's... I'm just trying to sow some seeds here, guys. They need our help. Maybe that's a belief system. Hey, these guys actually need our help, and we know we can help them. We know that. You know, if you're talking to that person and you know you can help them, that's a far more positive, empowering belief. And by the way, I just want to say that when I started my business 19 years ago, I also had some negative or sabotaging beliefs about sales. I had never done a sale in my life. I'm an ex-accountant, never done any sales. Had all the negative perceptions around salespeople who sat in a completely different part of the building when I was in sales, and we never talked to them. Those kind of people. We were finance people. Those salespeople were a different beast, and I didn't want to be one of those until I started my business. And after a year, and I was broke, and I realized I need to do something here. I need to reframe my belief. So here's the one I came up with, that my team and I are coaching business owners, business leaders to earn more income, break through their challenges, and achieve their dreams. And I was reminding myself of that all the time because I realized if I had negative perceptions, I probably wasn't going to make it actually. I wasn't going to make it through the first 5 years because I had the wrong beliefs. And I understood that you can change them. And because I knew this was true, so I just reframed it. So this is something for those of you who realize you've got some limiting beliefs. I would 100% advocate you start writing some new ones and you write them. You have to write them. It's not going to happen unless you write it down. You start writing them and you look at them. You remind yourself of them as much as you can. Minimum daily. That's an entry level reminder daily. I don't care where you write them, your phone, your computer, piece of paper, wherever that you put by your desk. I'm old school. I love paper and pad and putting stuff by my desk that I want in my eye line to remind me. Write it wherever you want, but make it visible to you. Maybe you want to make it visible to other people in your business as well, or other people who are also involved in sales. So you can share that belief and push each other on that. But we get the belief right. It's no good me just telling you what to do because you will not do it if your beliefs are not aligned. Now, of course, you need the skills as well to back that up. How would you rate those skills? Just an honest assessment for yourself. How would you rate your sales skills? And what I'd say on that is think about the last 5 books, videos, podcasts, training courses that you've been on sales. And if you haven't been on 5 or read 5 or engaged with 5, then your sales skills are going to be very low. Very low. Because sales is a learned skill. It's a learnable skill for anyone. It doesn't matter what technical skills you have, what background you have, you can learn these skills. But if you're not actively learning, then your sales skills will be probably a 0, 1, or 2 out of 10 at best. You don't learn sales skills on the job. There are libraries full of books and podcasts and it's all out there. If you're not engaging with it, just assume you're a 0 or 1. I think 2's being generous, actually. I was being generous. I'm not here to be generous. I'm here to be real with you guys. It's all learnable. But we need to get the mindset right. We need to get the mindset right and the beliefs right. And actually, your sales skills will be reflected in your sales conversion rate percentage. You should all have that as a business. You should all know how many of your proposals, quotes, or whatever it is you do when you've got a real genuine inquiry that's qualified, how many of those end up saying yes to you? What percentage? You should all know that percentage as a business. And if you're a really skilled salesperson, it will be higher than somebody who's never learned anything about sales and is going in there like a lamb to the slaughter. Now, that conversion rate, by the way, may be artificially inflated by the fact you're discounting. Any idiot can discount. Any idiot can discount and then pat themselves on the back and saying we're doing really well, and then wonder why they're running out of money. So The conversion rate will be a reflection as long as you're not just discounting to win. Of course, if you're getting lots of referrals, that's great. That will bump it up as well. But the skills can be learned. But most of you are not armed with the tools and the knowledge to succeed with this. Yet, not yet. Anyway, you're here today, which is great because at least you acknowledge that. At least you understand that there's one or two things you can do at least today to start to change that. Just at least to start. Now, so let's talk about some other practical skills. So I'm not talking about some really sophisticated sales skills today because that's not what this is about. This is about sales for non-salesy people. So let's talk about your database. This is basic stuff that even anyone can do, no matter how junior or senior. Let's talk about your your database. Of course, every business should have a database, maybe on a CRM or whatever that system is. You should have a database. And one of the overlooked things we see is that there isn't enough nurturing of that database or usage of that database. So let's look at some of the mistakes. Number one, a big one. You're fishing, what I call fishing in the wrong pond. So we hear this a lot. Oh, Parag, we want bigger clients or better clients or clients in this sector. And then we look at their database. We look at who's in, who are the names of the people in the database. We looked at your LinkedIn database. We look at who you're emailing. We look at who you're networking with. And those people don't align with the people that you're telling us you want to attract and work with. It's a misalignment. Your neighbor's best friend's aunt is on your database because you met them once at a party and you liked them, got on with them. But they're not the people you actually want to be working with. You've got the wrong people on LinkedIn. You've got the wrong people in your database. Or whichever. I use LinkedIn as an example just because that's the only channel I use. But whatever channels you use, are you fishing in the wrong pond? So how do you rectify this? Let's look at some of the things you may need to look at here. So with your database, how clear are you as a business on your target audience, your target client or clients? Now, it may be multiple different audiences. Has that audience been defined in writing? Do you know exactly what the nature of that audience is? You could define it in many ways: age, demographic, budget, type of project. There's so many ways you can define it. The most important thing is it needs to be defined and agreed with whoever's responsible for marketing and sales. The other mistake then, first of all, it's not being defined or not clearly defined. It's woolly and unspecific. And secondly, your database is not aligned with that target. There's a misalignment. As I said, the people on your LinkedIn, on your database, on your CRM don't align with the actual audience you want. Fishing in the wrong pond. Now, the third thing about databases is that generally, so they're misaligned, wrong pond, but also it's poor quality. And that could be in many ways. Maybe it's just not big enough. Maybe you don't have proper contact details. There's no phone numbers. There's no proper email address. You've got people there who aren't even in that role anymore or aren't even in that business anymore. The database has not been maintained. You've got people from the wrong geographic region, or they're just, it's just, you try using the database, but it's just the wrong people or the wrong data or the incorrect data. No one's checked. It's never been, no one's even thought, hold on, we need phone numbers, or hold on, we need Instagram handles or LinkedIn profiles. It's just the database isn't sufficient quality for you to be able to actually nurture them. But what do I mean by nurturing, by the way? Nurturing's not selling. It's not, hey, would you like to buy from us? It's building a relationship. nurturing. Just like you put a seed in the ground and you'd water it and nurture it so that eventually it will grow into the plant or the tree you want. You have to nurture it. So this is about setting yourself up to be able to nurture people who you and your business already know. It could be previous leads, previous inquiries, people you've met at networking, people you've connected with on social media, people from previous employment, whoever it is. If they're in your target audience, you should have a nurturing strategy, assuming you've got the right database. So, assuming you've remedied 1 to 3 here, then the fourth point here is what are you doing with them? And most often, it's either not enough or it's sporadic and inconsistent. So you need a bit of a plan here of how are you nurturing your database? What are you doing? Is it newsletters, email campaigns? Are you sharing content? What is it you actually are you inviting them to things? What is the plan of how you nurture them? If there's no plan, it ends up in this sporadic, inconsistent pattern, and then people tend to forget about you. And in fact, that's where competitors can get in because they're more visible, they're more proactive. And I'm sure some of you have been in that position where somebody you thought knew who knows you and maybe has even done business with you in the past has gone to someone else simply because you didn't keep in touch. So simple database management and nurturing. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, again, simple practical things here. Understanding how human beings make decisions. And I have said this before, we are not logical creatures. Our brains are not designed to make decisions logically. Look at how we buy cars, houses, clothes, your morning coffee. Those decisions are not logical. Our brains are hardwired to make decisions primarily emotionally. Emotionally. If you think about those things, I always talk about Apple computers. It's not logical that people buy an Apple machine that's 3 or 4 times more expensive than the machine I'm using. It's not logical. That can't be logical. There's emotional factors at play. And if you look at how you guys are conducting sales and your sales processes, is it all based on features, terms, plans, prices, all logical factors? When actually, the most significant factors in winning sales are emotional. And probably the most significant emotion is trust. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. It doesn't matter if you don't see yourself as a salesperson. You can become known, you can be likable, and you can be trustworthy. There's the good news. Ultimately, you're trying to build those emotions with your target audience. You're trying to build that connection with your target audience. Now, how do you do that? How do you do that? Again, a couple of very practical things. Building trust online is critical. It's critical because most people who are potentially interested in your services are doing their due diligence online before they ever speak to you. It's happening. It's happening right now. What are they looking at? They're looking at things like case studies and testimonials. Now, I know that most of you have at least some of this stuff. I've got a big issue with most of your case studies and testimonials is that most of them are found on your website. That's simply not enough because how many people are visiting your website and how long are they on your website and how visible is this stuff on your website? Now, the average user is on a website for barely 10 seconds or less. It's not enough to have it hidden on a website. Those things need to be out there, promoted through other channels, not just your website. And we need to get video involved. Video is a far, far more engaging method of communicating this stuff than just having written. Of course, you have it in writing as well, But have you overlooked video? I know many of you have. Have you overlooked YouTube, Instagram, and other channels to get this stuff out? And who is talking about your testimonial? Who is talking about your credibility? Who is sharing this stuff? Who is endorsing you online? Or is it just hidden away on your website and you're assuming that's going to do the job? Not enough. Not enough. Review scores, of course, will help, whether it's Google scores or other platform scores. It doesn't matter. What matters is you have them and they're visible. Your social media profiles. If you're business to business, like our business, then of course they'll look at your LinkedIn profile. Now they are going to make a judgment, an emotional judgment on how much they trust you based on some of this, on what they see, their first impression. They're going to look for those review scores. Can they see it? They're going to look for these testimonials. Can they see any evidence of credibility? They're certainly going to want to see high value content. Now, most of you are in high value services. In other words, you're not selling widgets. It's not a simple sale. It's a complex, high value sale that can take time and requires a greater level of trust to be built. So that's what I mean by thought leadership content, higher value content. It's not just simple, hello, here we are, here's what we're doing. It's much deeper, a bit like this. This is like a 45-minute webinar or a long form content blog post or a public speaking engagement. That kind of thought leadership where you're putting yourself up there as an expertise and proving it by actually sharing expertise. Again, people are looking for that, especially in higher value sales. They need to feel that trust in you. So there's some practical things, simple practical things. The other thing, of course, is ask more questions. When you're talking to a new lead, a new potential client, you need to lead with questions. What you should not be leading with is, hello, we can really help you. Here's how we've done it with these clients. Let me show you our brochure. Let me show you how wonderful we are. Of course you need to do that, but lead with questions. Start with questions, not telling them how great you are and what you can do for them. And you should be asking open questions. What, why, how, who? They are open questions that can't just be answered yes or no. So how many of those are you asking? And instead, if you're leading with telling them things, showing them things, think about if you were on the receiving end of that and how that feels. That you're not being heard, you're just being told. It's the opposite of building trust. So lead with questions. Those questions should be written down. The theme here, isn't there? Those questions should be written down in any business. The standard questions, not just what's your budget and when you're going to start. Open questions that really finds out the emotional drivers for what is it they really want. Not just what do they want, but why. What are the emotions behind that? Those questions should be written down. Now, the other thing you should be doing, and for most of you, you are probably having some sort of call or meeting or both where you are engaging with a lead and potentially getting them to a point where they're making, you want them to buy from you, basically. Now, in those meetings, you should be positioning. Now, what does positioning mean? Positioning means you are explicitly clear in your communication as to what the purpose of that call or that meeting is. You need to be clear about that, ideally before that meeting even takes place. And certainly at the start of those sales meetings. Let's call them that, sales meetings. You should be explaining the fact you need to ask them questions. You need to find out and understand more about what they need. So tell them that. Tell them that if you think there is scope to help them, you're going to show them how you can help. You're going to start talking about how you can help them if you believe there's scope. Tell them that. Now, this is the big one. Should you be sharing some expectation on fees? Yes, if at all possible. You seed that expectation. Even if it's not possible to give them an exact number, you should be giving them a range, or giving them expectation of what kind of fee can they expect. Now, you may think, well, that's gonna scare them, but they have to understand that, because at least then they've got some time to think about it, to process it. And if you're building the trust, then it doesn't come as a surprise at the end, which they will automatically say, "Oh, I don't know about that. Oh, it's out of our budget," and all those kind of things, and you've just wasted all that time. So ideally, you want to give them an expectation of fee. And if you want them to make a decision at that meeting, or at least a decision in principle, tell them that as well. Tell them, at the end of this meeting, I'm going to show you how we can help. It's going to be this kind of fee, approximately, and I'd love to understand whether you think this is something that's viable for you or not. You're also positioning the fact that their decision might be no. And again, when it comes to building trust, positioning the no is a very, very powerful tool in building trust, because you're telling them that's okay. You're telling them it's okay to say no. You're making them understand that you're not going to try and twist their arm here. That you expect some people to say no, which of course you do. So why not position that up front at the start of that call or meeting? So just a little bit of an outline here on a framework that you can use at the start of those calls and meetings. And the last thing I want to mention is, when you're running these calls and meetings, some of you have been doing these kind of things for years. Some of you are a bit uncomfortable and it's all a bit new. The best way that I found to actually improve your sales skills, great, go and read 5 books on sales, but you're not going to do it. Most of you are not going to do it. The best learning tool is reflection. So what do I mean by that? So this is something we do with everyone we coach, actually, is self critiques. So you have a script. You know the questions that you should be asking. You know what you should be positioning. You know what outcome you're trying to achieve. What if you actually then reviewed whether you did that or not? So, for example, let's say you're on a Zoom call like this webinar, which I'm sure you're a Teams call. What if you recorded that meeting? Press record, and then after that meeting, whether it goes well or not, you listen and watch the recording, and you self-critique it. You grab a piece of paper or whatever it is, and you do LB, what did you like best about how you ran that call? NT, what could you do better next time? You self-critique. It is a powerful self-learning tool. If you're not going to do the other learning, which most of you won't, because you think you haven't got time, it's just an excuse, but you won't, at least do the self-critique, because we have this wonderful thing called Zoom or Teams, and you can actually record conversations. When I started 19 years ago, we didn't have any of this. All my meetings were done in person. Jeez, I was busy, and I would go, and my coach would get me to take my phone. I would take my phone and I'd press record whilst I was there physically in person. And I'd tell them, look, is it okay that I'm just recording this call so I don't forget things and I can focus on you? And of course, so many companies do this now on their phone calls. They say, we're just recording for training and monitoring purposes. And of course, what they should be doing is doing exactly that. They should be reviewing those calls, critiquing them. It's actually what professional salespeople do. They critique every day. Real professionals critique every day. What did we do well? How do we deal with this? What could we have done differently? Where did we screw up? And you're going to listen to it and you're going to cringe. That's okay. That's okay, because you're also going to learn and you're going to improve. So it's a great tool to do. And even better, if there are things that you're struggling with, or the questions, or how to handle certain conversations, role play it with someone. Role play it with a team member or us or whatever. You just practice it. Throw some ideas around. Look at how you can improve it and change it. The self critique is one of the most underrated sales improvement hacks or tools out there. No one talks about it. It's gold dust. Try it. Try it. And the other thing to try is to look at your activity levels. For those of you involved in sales, people tend to look at what we call lagging indicators. How many clients did we win? How many clients have we got? Now they are outcomes. They are lag indicators. They are outcomes of the activities that have taken place to get you to those outcomes. So instead of just tracking how many clients you've got or how many new clients, how about tracking activity levels? How many meetings or how many follow-ups or how many proposals or how many of whatever you believe is important as an activity focus. Because you can control that. You can measure it. You can improve it. You need to decide what that activity is. But if you define that and set it as a target for yourself or for your teams, you can then track that regularly and go, right, well, if we're not at it, why not? What's holding us back? What's stopping us achieving the activity levels? And again, when I was new to business, I would have to track this for my coach. How many networking events, how many public speaking gigs, how many follow-up emails, all sorts of things. And it was, even though I had no clients at that time and it was just me, my activity levels were always lower than I thought. I just wasn't doing enough of the right activities. And this really got me focused on the right activities. So, I've thrown a lot of different ideas at you today. And what I want you to do is, I want to be honest with you here. I want you to be accountable for actually doing something with this. I want you to be accountable because my team and I know this stuff works. We're using this day in, day out with people. And what's going to happen is for most of you, you leave this webinar and you might even go, that was great, Parag. And you might even jump on a LinkedIn post and go, that was great, Parag. But what have you done? What action have you taken? We'd like to start a conversation with you where you tell us, what are you going to do? Top 1 to 3 things. When are you going to do them? Who's going to help you, if anyone? What knowledge do you need to do it well? And what might stop you doing it? 5 things. And you're going to spend 45 minutes with us telling us those things. We can help you get clear on that action plan. And then you've got a better chance of actually executing it and getting the results that you want.